couple weeks ago, I was inspired by creators like Cascades Academy and Graham Stephan to make a video called China's Economy is About to Collapse in 25 Days. And in that video, I talked about China's massive $9 trillion Ponzi scheme that the economy was accused of running. And in that video, people were literally protesting in the streets, asking the banks to give people their deposits back on projects that were never even finished. And today, that video turned exactly 25 days old, which means it is now time to smash the like button for that magic trick, because that took no CGI and way too much time. So let me give you an update and see myself out. Now, the Chinese real estate market could see the biggest property crash the world has ever seen, which is why the government has injected another 1 trillion yuan or $145 billion in stimulus. And here's a couple fun facts that are really gonna blow your mind, because China is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Their GDP, for example, the gross domestic product, which is the thing that measures how much stuff a country makes, grew by 8.1% last year in 2021. Just for context, out of the top 10 most advanced economies in the world, they were the second fastest growing one, right behind India, which grew at 8.9%. But the craziest part is not how fast they've grown, but how they've done it. Because for the last 20 years, the way they've done it is through real estate, which has now ballooned to a value of between $55 to $60 trillion. Now, that's a lot of money, but how much is that really? Here's how you can think about it. China's real estate market is so big that it is more valuable than the combined net worth of the entire US stock market. And the US stock market is so big that it represents roughly 56% of the world's stock market at $48 trillion. So as big and as powerful and as influential the US stock market is, it is still smaller than China's real estate, which also represents roughly 30% of China's entire economy, which also happens to be the second biggest economy right behind the US. Now, where this story last left off is when China approved a $45 billion stimulus package to help the real estate developers finish building their projects, as well as the most recent $145 billion stimulus to help the economy going again. But in today's video, you're gonna find out that that amount of money is extremely short in comparison to how much they actually need. And a lot of this is thanks to what's called zero COVID policy, which has had a huge effect on their economy. So with that said, I want to help explain exactly what's going on and how this will affect us, because there's been some new data that's been recently released. So let's get right into it. Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing well, come for the finance, and stay for the bubble that never pops, the Chinese economy. So first I want to say that my thoughts go out to the people of China because they've been through a lot. The pain that they're feeling now is pain that will eventually be felt by the rest of the world, because even the founder of Huawei, which is China's largest privately owned company, said that this collapse will be felt by the rest of the world globally for the next decade. And so far, here's the damage. Over 60 real estate developers are drowning in over $13 billion of bond repayments that are due this year. Consumer confidence in China is also at a multi-decade low, and it's estimated that China's property sales will go down 30% before the year ends, which is worse than 2008 when they crashed 20%. But actually, the data shows that the situation is a lot worse than economists first predicted, because so far, home sales in China are already down 40%. And the Chinese government knows that it needs to pivot out of real estate and start investing in something else really fast. But the problem is that roughly 70% of China's wealth is already tied up in real estate. Now look, I know you've probably seen a ton of these videos about China and the collapse of their economy, but the most interesting thing is that no one really understands how big this problem actually is. So I looked around and I found some really interesting data that helped explain it to me. Check it out. On average, it's known that it takes about 3 years to fully finish building a project. So if we assume that a developer starts 100 projects in year 1, we know that by year 4, just 3 years later, they will have an 80% completion rate, meaning 80 of those buildings will be finished and the other 20 will not be. So far, so good. Super straightforward. Now, they looked at China's current completion rate for the years 2021 and 2022, and they found that it was 50%. Now, because economists know roughly how much it costs to build a project and how many of those purchases were financed through mortgages, they were able to cross-reference that 50 and 80% number to figure out the rough scale of how big this problem actually is. And right now, the total value of all the mortgages attached to these unfinished projects is estimated to be 1.6 trillion yuan, or about 1.4% of China's entire GDP, which is massive already and big enough to cause a huge correction. But if we assume this completion rate is allowed to exist of 50% until the end of 2024, that number will jump to 4.4 trillion yuan, or about 4% of China's entire GDP, which would be big enough to be felt by the global economy. And by the way, this is all data thanks to Tom Orlick, who is the author of a book called China, the Bubble That Ever Pops. He's also the chief economist at Bloomberg, and I just listened to his podcast interview. It was super nerdy, but that was the TLDR, and that is the closest piece of data that I was able to find that helps explain how big this problem actually is. But now there's a second problem that might cause the collapse of the Chinese economy, and that problem is not Pikachu. It's corporate earnings. Here's how bad they've gotten. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. Inflation and the declining economy are extremely stressful for families. And even my own comment section is sometimes flooded with bots trying to scam people. And that's because when the economy gets tough, financial fraud and stress increase as well. In 2021, for example, the average household loss to investment fraud was $70,811. Just think about that. That's over a full year salary gone. And that's why it's so important to protect yourself online, and why I'm so excited about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura protects your money and assets by keeping an eye on your accounts, your loans, home title, and investments to identify fraud and unauthorized charges. They alert you if they detect changes to your credit profile, and they help you lock your credit to keep anyone from opening new accounts or taking out loans using your personal information. It's also a VPN service, which means you can safely and privately browse the web, and they monitor the dark web for anything that might expose your emails, your passwords, and social security numbers. Each and every plan includes a $1 million identity theft insurance, and the best part is that if you sign up today using my link down below at aura.com/Andrei, you can get a free trial and check to see if your data has already been part of a data breach. And if you like their service, you can try it for free for 14 days using my link down below, so go check them out. Thank you, Aura, for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now let's get back to it. The second reason why China's economy is now on the brink of collapse is brand new. It's thanks to corporate earnings. Roughly 4,800 companies just reported their earnings, and their profits are going through a situation that's close to what happened during the global pandemic. For example, in the first half of this year, roughly 900 companies reported a net loss in earnings. Now, to put in perspective just how crazy bad that number is, in 2020, during the global pandemic, when all of the economies were frozen, only 780 companies reported a net loss in profits. And one of the biggest reasons why this is happening is thanks to what's called China's zero COVID policy. This is gonna blow your mind. These are just some of the extremes the Chinese government will go to limit the spread of cases. Just put yourself in any of these scenarios. First, if there's a slight outbreak, the government will put the whole city on lockdown. And a lockdown means that no one is able to leave the house after 6 p.m. except for mandatory testing. Testing, which by the way, has already overwhelmed some cities and the grids, leaving people to stand in line for hours. Secondly, no one except for one person per household per day is allowed to go get groceries, and that's only if you have a negative test. Third, if there's a health emergency and you have to leave your house, you can only do so with approval from your local neighborhood committee, which is kind of like having the HOA vote on whether you get to live or not. Fourth, restaurants are to stay closed except for takeout, and it's only supermarkets, hospitals, and pharmacies that are allowed to be open, and the rest have to stay closed. So far, right now, over 60 million people are suffering from this lockdown, and already since August, across 70 cities, more than 300 million people have already been affected by either full or partial lockdowns. And you'd think that at some point the government would announce that this zero COVID policy would someday end. But even in the case of a natural disaster where an earthquake hit, people were still not allowed to leave their home, and the policy was in effect. And the worst part is that while all of this is happening, the Chinese government is doing everything they can to censor this information from being shared publicly on social media. And as if things could not get worse, China's now going through the worst heat wave they've ever had since they started tracking records more than 70 years ago. And this has caused severe drought and power outages for millions of people in China. So for all of those reasons and more is why economists are now predicting China's economy will be a lot worse than they originally thought. So that's where we are now. Now let me give you my personal thoughts about what happens next. This is one of those videos that was kind of hard to make because people have been calling for the collapse of the Chinese economy for literally decades now, except it's never popped. And people have become desensitized to this news because they just assume the Chinese government will just kick the can down the road by printing cheap money, lowering interest rates, and continue to expand their GDP by this pre-sale strategy of selling real estate. But what I think people forget or take for granted is that this strategy only works if people have faith in their system. And that's really the biggest thing at stake for the Chinese government. Just like it was for us here in the US when we realized that during the 2008 financial meltdown, which was caused by the collapse of real estate, that it was an illusion to believe that real estate could only keep going up forever. And there's an argument to be made that maybe the Chinese people are starting to realize that now as well, that real estate can't keep going up forever. On the other hand though, because China has 1.4 billion people, it also means their per capita GDP is much lower than it is here in the US. And by the way, I know you probably forgot what that means because I know I did when I was making this video, but the per capita GDP just means if you take the total value of the stuff that a country makes and divide it by the amount of people in a country, you get the per capita GDP. All it does is it measures how productive each person is on average in a given country. And what it ultimately says is that the higher the per capita GDP number is, the higher quality of life the average person gets to enjoy. So for example, here in the US, our per capita GDP is closer to $69,000. In China though, it is much lower, closer to $11,000. So all this means is that the average person living here in the US is a lot wealthier and has a much higher quality of life than the average person living in China. And the reason that matters is because when there's an economic crisis like there was here in 2008, the average person here in the US was much more prepared to handle that kind of a situation. Whereas in China, because the average person is not enjoying such a high quality of life, that means in certain parts of China, it's going to become extremely difficult, which is very sad considering everything else that the Chinese people have already been through. The truth is that this is an extremely complicated problem, and no matter how the Chinese government decides to solve it, people will end up getting hurt. If the government allows this pre-sale strategy to continue funding over 70% of their real estate market, then the greed will form an even bigger bubble in the future. But if they allow the bubble to burst during the worst heat wave in recorded history, during horrible corporate earnings and massive COVID lockdowns, people could say that they've had enough and they could lose their faith in their economy, which is faith the Chinese government needs people to have to keep the economy going. So it's almost like darned if they do and darned if they don't. Whichever way the chips might fall, I'm not smart enough to figure it out, but I hope that China will recover and the world gets along so that we can go back to having a normal life again. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and again, I wish I had a more positive video for you today, but unfortunately, this is the reality. But as always, have a wonderful rest of your day, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to grab up to $250 worth of free Bitcoin with this link right here. Don't forget to move your crypto offline on a cold storage wallet, but grab the money while it's still there. Grab your free stocks, all the links are down below, and then go track them automatically with the spreadsheet link down below in my Patreon. Love you, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back here on Monday and Friday, sometimes a Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.